Alrighty, we're here with Ahmed Beshry, co-founder of Caper, one of the most cool, to stick with the letter C. That's probably the best alliteration that's ever happened. Um, Smart cart and beyond companies that have ever come across, and we'll get to all of that story. But Ahmed, so excited to talk to you today. Thanks so much for joining. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. And it's kind of funny. This is like it's evolved over time. Like I find guests for this podcast in like a wide variety of ways, but it's been I think this is the second time this year that shout out our local Hoboken ShopRite. Just going into that ShopRite, doing our weekly Sunday shopping, my wife Dana and I, has inspired connections that have led to podcast guests. So the one that we're talking about today is, of course, Caper, and the Caper carts are awesome and have like totally changed our shopping experience. So we will get to that. But
I
well,
love
first,
that.
I want to thank you for having the Hoboken ShopRite be like an early mover for Caper because it's very convenient for us.
Yeah. Hey, you and me both. Being based here in New York City and having a bunch of shop rights that have our carts for me and my team has been just magical. And yeah, we get to use Caper just as regular customers, and yeah, it's pretty awesome.
It is pretty awesome indeed. So you actually have before we get to the Caper journey, you have like a startup background yourself even before that. Can you share a bit about QHop and what was involved in that?
Yeah. So we started off. I think I was like pretty fresh out of college. Jumped right into the startup journey. My co-founders and I, we had a very uh, aggressive entrepreneurial itch where we were just always focused on, what exists in the market, what's a bad experience, and what can we solve given all the technology at our fingertips. And pretty early on, we came around. The idea of retail in our mind was like something that just was definitely ripe for innovation. And our whole thesis was that like there's tech evolving all around us, and cars are driving themselves now, and I have a supercomputer in my pocket that I could use to do whatever I want. And the retail experience, or the brick and mortar experience, was in our eyes just like completely unchanged. So we started off, something pretty similar to Caper, but in the apparel space. So yeah, fresh out of college, I think it was like a year out. I'd worked a little bit as a software engineer, and then shifted into the retail space. And what QHop was we'd re-engineered the security tag that you typically see on apparel at a store, where you could kind of tap your phone against it, product would show up on your phone, and you would hit pay, and all the security tags would kind of unlock themselves right then and there.
Hmm.
It got us into Y Combinator. It really started that like very serious entrepreneurial journey for us, and yeah, there was a lot of learnings from there, and we inevitably pivoted, but that's where we all started.
So full of ideas you are, as Yoda would say. I guess I didn't even plan that,
We
but
try. We try. Not all of them are good, but some of them stick, and we build cool things out of it.
how was your how was the Y Combinator experience compared to like the reputation and hype there is about it publicly?
I think I think it holds. I mean, the reputation exists for a reason. They've created such like juggernauts in the technology space. I think it's by far the most unicorns when compared to other uh, anybody in venture. And the reason is, I mean, they have such a good eye for great talent. But more importantly, and like what we got out of the experience more than anything, for me, it wasn't capital. It wasn't like extremely deep connections. I think the big thing that really stuck with us was the obsession over building a product for a select group of individuals or a select cohort, um, that desperately need it, and focusing on that small group until you build something that is really magical for them or solves an immediate pain point. The speed of iteration, the learning, etc., like that was all extremely valuable coming out of YC. And yeah, I think for us, it was like something that just stuck. And even today, when I give advice to founders, a lot of it, what I'm realizing is like what I learned from YC, which is just obsess over your product, launch quick, learn quick, iterate quick, but make sure you're building something that people want.
More unicorns than the national animal of Scotland. That's the YC slogan. So he coined it here first. So
That's yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's honestly special that they could keep doing it.
it's majestic. So speaking of relentlessly focusing on a product and building it for a specific group of people, very specific segue here. Let's get to Caper. So
Yeah.
super cool, game changing. Like I mean, you know better than me. Like I am sure for decades on decades, people have tried to reinvent the shopping cart and failed miserably. But there's something pretty cool about Caper. So how did you start to get involved with what would become Caper in the first place?
Yeah, so I think the big thing that we learned when we started, and we talked about QHop briefly, was like brick and mortar is completely unchanged, and there hasn't been any advancement in technology that's good. I mean, there's like self checkout, there's a couple other things that you see in grocery, and as far as the customer experience or like the checkout experience goes, there wasn't really that much advancement. So for us, the big focus was, how do you create something in this experience, or in this environment? How do you create something in brick and mortar that is helpful? So when we started off with apparel, we weren't really that focused on the the folks that are actually buying the technology, the retailers, and we were only focused on like the end customer. And while we created a really good experience for the end customer, it was a B2B to C product, and so the B2B angle of it was actually pretty arduous, and it required a lot of operational overhaul, and it was a pretty difficult product to launch. So we thought, okay, let's reset. Let's think about a broader market. Let's think about a place where it is still ripe for innovation and there's massive innovation budgets. And that was grocery. So we landed on grocery, and we knew we wanted to do something that, follows the customer around. It could be something in your pocket. It could be a phone. It could be something handheld, but ultimately something that is beneficial for the customer. And as we started to think about it more and more, we had like a general idea. And so in like again the YC framework, what we ended up doing was talking to a bunch of grocers. And here in New York City, we literally would just, my co-founder Lyndon and I would take the subway, drop ourselves off in a random neighborhood in New York, and then we'd go to Brooklyn, Manhattan, Staten Island, we all over the tri-state area, and we'd literally just talk to grocery store owners, and we'd be like, "Hey, what are your problems? What are your pain points? Where are you struggling?" And we really, really like took a crash course and understood the market really quickly. And it was immediate for us to understand that like they were struggling with customer experience. People were struggling to find things in the store. People would abandon their carts. They couldn't hire people. They couldn't find cashiers quick enough. So it was rife with issues. And so what we ended up doing was going back, learning everything that we learned from QHop, learning everything that we learned from our customer surveys, thinking, and we're like, okay, if you take all of this really unique technology and you just pack it into the conventional form factor that is the shopping cart, you could create something pretty magical there. And you could create not only something that solves their checkout problems, but a myriad of different issues that they experience in grocery. So solving a lot of the customer pain points, finding items, checking out quickly, providing delight and an enjoyable experience in the grocery store. And then for the retailer, it's like, you could aggregate some unique data points. You could help with out of stock detection. You could, just do a lot more than what you typically could with customers walking around with this smart IoT shopping cart. So that was it, really. Talking to customers, talking to our grocery partners, and thinking, from the ground up, like blank slate. What do we do here?
So it's we're fortunate to have used Caper before, but for everybody else hearing about it, like it's something that when you read about it, it sounds pretty cool, but it's you really have to have the firsthand experience to have that like glowing moment of, oh my god, that saved us so much time, or like that was so cool and fun and efficient. And I think about the grocery store overall. Like, so we typically go, or we pretty much always go on Sundays. I have like an underlying stress when it's tied to the grocery store, because I think of NFL Sunday and trying to get grocery shopping done before the 1 o'clock games start. And so there's
Yeah.
always that time pressure there. And I just found historically that like it takes so long to get grocery shopping done for like a week, for, two people especially.
Yeah.
And ever since we started with Caper, it's such like a magical thing to be, be done getting all your food and then realize, oh my God, like we're basically
We're
checked out
done.
already. Like we have to scan and pay, but we don't have to like bag everything and go, like it's all together. So it's just absolutely brilliant. What was involved in like figuring out the actual attributes of a Caper cart that, would be time saving and beneficial, like all those benefits?
Um, so the funny thing is that when we started, the main thing that you're hitting on, like you're one of our demographic. Like, it's very clear talking to you. I'm like, you are of this bucket, and that bucket is the like
That's
the
what they call
efficiency
me.
shopper.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah, you're
Perfect. Yeah,
demographic one. Yeah.
that's me.
The very clear thing is that there's like, yeah, a couple different demographics, and when we went into this, it was very much like the efficiency strategy of like, how do we build a product that's better than what exists in self checkout today, lets people go in and out of the store, have full control over their shop. And so we created the first like initial experience around that, and that was creating something that allows for you to check out and has the most innovative technology to immediately recognize what's going in and out of your cart instantaneously. So there's those computer vision cameras that leverage AI to detect your product as it's going in, the produce scale, the security scale, all of these mechanisms to allow for a really easy checkout experience. So that's what we like catered everything around, was like, how do you create a really quick and awesome experience and add and remove as easily as possible as people are shopping. What was really quick for us, what we learned really quickly rather, was that grocery is a interesting business in that everybody grocery shops. It's kids, it's grandparents, it's all sorts of age demographics and older, younger audiences, etc. So what we found extremely quickly was like when we deployed our products expecting like millennials and Gen Z to like throw in their headphones and like have a quick shop, was no, this is like mom shopping for her family, and this is like grandma and grandpa picking up this cart because they want to be up to date with the new
Mm.
technology in the grocery store, and experience something cool and unique. Or this is anyone who's used self checkout, which is everyone, right? And so it was very quick for us to realize like, oh, this isn't actually just for the convenience shopper. This is a very broad range of customers that are going to use this. And so very quickly, we actually evolved our product to be adaptable and actually cover the type of use case that the different demographics are going to want. So you actually have folks that are going in there and they're using the Caper Cart for discoverability. Hey, I'm in this particular aisle. What items are on sale in this aisle? Or hey, there's the flyer on the cart. Or a lot of folks are using it for affordability. And that if you use our cart, it's probably going to be net cheaper than the traditional shopping cart, and that will surface coupons as you're shopping. If you throw a product in the cart that has a coupon, you could clip it right then and there. Or if you walk into an aisle that has a coupon, you could navigate and go through a carousel and select items that are on sale as you're shopping. So for us, the big thing was like expanding that horizon and trying to find a value proposition for everyone and just making it work for every grocery shopper.
It's you're spot on. You hit on the generations there, and like I've seen. First of all, we're full brand ambassadors for you now and full research people. So
I love this.
we
Yeah.
expect full time salary anytime soon. Not to brag, but no. We've noticed that like little kids are like excited to use the carts too because they're like, "Ooh, it has a screen," or it's like, "Ooh, it's like bright and has cameras." Like, what is
Yeah.
this? So there's like that novelty factor as well,
They'll like
and fun
drag
factor.
mom and
Yeah.
be like, I want to use this, and they're our best brand ambassadors because they'll take over the experience fully. It's actually a really like unique moment and wholesome in that the family shop isn't like mom shopping and dragging three kids around. It's people helping, or little kids helping mom with the shop and throwing items in the cart, try to make it as fun as possible. And it's a huge aspect of the cart itself in that like gamification and delight are so critical to the way we build our product from the ground up, and that everything that we do, every way that we design a product or a new feature, we're thinking about like, how can you make this more delightful? How can you take this, again, this chore, and turn it into a fun little family moment or a fun experience for anyone using it?
So obviously you're in ShopRite. I know you're in some more stores as well. how did you get to the point of all right, this thing is good enough that we can start pitching retailer, we can start pitching stores to actually feature this, because I'm sure grocery stores get pitched with products and innovations like all the time.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. We were pitching it well before it was as good as it is now. So we've been,
MVP.
Capers. Yeah, yeah, oh yeah. I mean, that's part of that like YC philosophy is if you wait to launch this thing, if you wait to launch a product till it's ready for showtime and ready for scale. For us, it would have taken like 7-8 years before we launched our first version of our product because that's the moment where we were like, this is a really scalable, solid product, and we started mass producing it. So we actually pitched it, like I was saying, in customer discovery before we even built it. We were talking to retailers, showing them an industrial design on our phone and saying, like, if we were to build this product, would you buy it? And we did. So we actually created prototypes of those units, and they were we would deploy them in stores, and they were riddled with issues, 6-7 years back, and all of those were really exceptional learning moments where you learn how to create more stable chipsets and more stable connections in the cart. And the shopping cart, as you probably know, endures a lot of abuse. It's banged up, it's thrown in, it's left outside, it's kept in the rain, in the
You're
cold,
dropping
in the hot,
watermelons in
etc.
it.
Yeah, exactly. So you learn really quickly when you're in a live environment like that how the next batch of carts has to be more resilient and stronger. Um, and so we actually, I would say that in startup fashion, like our benefit of being a startup was that we were able to deploy, and it, sure, you'd have a little bit of uh, backlash here and there, but you just deploy a stronger and better version afterwards. So we're at a point now where we could scale with our retailers with extreme confidence because we've iterated so aggressively to get to the solid, stable version that you're using today.
Well, it's so good getting that feedback like quickly and like pitching stuff along the way, because I think if it, even if it's a, the quote unquote MVP or like a not so developed product yet, if the idea and like the potential for execution is so strong and so game changing like that, like it's awesome to get partners in, from
Yeah, and
from the
I
ground, and they can feel like they're, they are part of like the feedback iterative process as well.
100%. And for all the startups out there that are listening, or the big thing for me and our team was identifying like who would be a really patient partner for us to partner with early on. And kudos to a couple of key partners of ours that were able to take the risk, and we learned together, and yeah, just iterated very quickly on a product. And by them being patient, by us working extremely fast and hard to solve the problems, we got to a pretty solid spot.
Speaking of solid spot, how in the world did Instacart come about for Caper?
Yeah, so it's a great story in that early on, broke founders all living together, eating together. Just we had almost died a handful of times. Grocery is not the sexiest of spaces where investors are just throwing capital. Hardware too. So started off just a lot slower, but again, building a really unique product and getting a lot of customers that wanted to try Caper out. Or as we were starting to iterate on the hardware side, we were seeing a lot more successful deployments and launches, and we were iterating quickly and building features that were awesome. And so we started to grow the business quite aggressively, and raised our seed, raised our Series A, grew the team, deployed more carts, started to sign much larger contracts with national names, and we're ramping up for pretty aggressive scale. And with that, we went out to raise our Series B. And yeah, we signed a couple term sheets. We were ready to grow the business aggressively ourselves. And at that moment, Fiji, who's our CEO, the Instacart CEO, was just starting her role as the Instacart CEO, and heard about our fundraising, and reached out to us. And at that moment, she just wanted a conversation. And we had a conversation with her, and it was very clear that she had a very aligned vision and strategy that we did. And the relationship between us and Instacart at that moment was already quite strong. We had some connections. We knew what they were building, and she just painted a really rosy picture of what the next 5 to 10 years would look like together. And the whole idea here is that Instacart is a technology platform. Instacart builds technology for grocers. Grocers themselves, don't have teams of thousands of engineers focused on building the best grocery technology, leveraging AI for grocery. They don't have a myriad of a suite of products that they could deploy, locally in house, and we provide that. And so, for us, the whole idea is that Instacart is creating what is a grocery enablement platform. And we would build the tools to deploy with our retail partners to just help them innovate and make that grocery experience better. And Instacart provided us just a fantastic opportunity to scale really quickly. And what was awesome for us,
Thumbs up. It's a
thumbs up
trademark
to
of this
that.
podcast. You know what happens with every guest.
Scale really quickly, and more importantly was that Instacart's been building this technology for a decade, and so they've mastered e-commerce, and they've created the best e-commerce experience by far. And they have a lot of AI algorithms that we'd be able to tap into, a lot of the best suite of e-commerce technology that we'd be able to tap into, and we could take the best of what was deployed and created online and take that into the store. And so for us, that was just like a fantastic idea of mass scale with the idea to deploy the best technology in store and give people in store, which is the vast majority of the market, that experience that you have online. So for us, it was just a no-brainer opportunity to partner with the best. Their culture is fantastic. Their team is great, and yeah, it's just a no-brainer. It made sense to us.
Yeah. The synergy makes a ton of sense there. And I mean, Instacart obviously itself is like a rocket ship, but Caper as well. Absolute rocket ship or rocket cart that you've created. Just what a
Love that.
awesome wild ride. If you looking back now, I know it's still like grand scheme pretty early in the journey, but looking back, like what is the one main thing that you would attribute the like growth and investment success, we'll say funding success of Caper so far?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. I mean, it's all going to come down to the core product and focusing on like what customers actually want in grocery. So we were hyper focused on creating a great actual hardware. We want the experience to be as smooth and nimble as possible. We focus a lot on the experience. That's when we're creating a product isn't just like the two-dimensional screen interface. It's like the human computer interaction elements of it. How are people interacting, and adding their groceries to the cart, and how does the experience of the cart light up, and what are the sounds, what's the experience on the screen look like, etc. So on the hardware side, it was like creating something that's stable, durable, works for our retail partners, provides them an immense amount of value. While as like in the overall experience was, how do you create something that when a customer walks into the grocery store, they go, oh my God, like it's a no-brainer. Of course I'm using the Caper card. And so that's really, like, I'd say we're still early. People love us. We have a ton of users that are habitual and will continue to use us. But
Every Sunday.
we got you, Max. That's all that matters.
Thank you.
We want millions of users, and we want to ensure that we're providing value for all of the America that's using the Caper card. And so it's still early, but I'd say that the success has been just like obsessing over what our customers want, iterating weekly on any small data point that we have that would show that we're creating something that'd be net good for our user base. So yeah, by dropping like one piece of hardware into the grocery store, we've provided value for our retail partners, and it's continuing to churn and ensure that you're providing more and more value for the retailer, but also just hyper focusing on the customer and seeing like how we could crank up utilization rates, we could ensure that there's high stability, no abandonment, and that everybody after using the Caper cart goes like, yeah, of course I'm going to use this when I come back.
Well, of course, we're going to take a hard right here with our Caper Cart and wrap up with a couple quick more segments, just more focused on you, your personality. The first one is called the unusual. So pet peeves, quirks, weird talents. This totally like does not have to tie to taper to caper as well, or taper. I don't know what taper is, but it's about you personally. What's a quirk you have? Something a little bit quirky about your personality that maybe a friend, co-founder, team, family, somebody calls you out for, but it's who you are.
That's a great question. I think uh, that's a really good one. I think there's like this level of energy that I'll bring to the team that is borderline annoying. Um,
I didn't know where that was going with the start of that sentence.
I think like one of those things as a founder is you want to have this like, crazy energy, and I just bring that to the team. I think all the time to the point where they're annoyed of me more often than not. So that's probably it, where I can kind of turn that on and off. But yeah, in general, I think spend more time with me, Max. We'll go
Perfect.
Sunday shopping together. And
Yeah, exactly. If only you were passionate about your creation,
yeah, right.
you
Yeah.
really missed the ball on that one. All right, what's a pet peeve? Something that just ticks you off a little bit, but it's like really just a tiny thing in the grand scheme of life.
If you waste a minute of my time with anything, like time, I think at this point has become the thing
Yeah.
that I value most in life. And so, my poor coworkers, if they are in a meeting that's running inefficiently, I will, uh, throw a grenade into that meeting, blow it up, and then try to restructure it or end it completely. Um, yeah, or in life. I mean, Instacart. I'm an Instacart user because I value time. I think that's one of those things. Pet peeves. If you waste my time, I'm gonna be mean to you
You're
in the
gonna hate
nicest way possible.
you're gonna hate the next half hour of this recording where you just have to
Yeah.
watch me and hear me play the harmonica for half an hour. So
No, that
really,
sounds nice.
really,
That doesn't sound
yeah.
like a waste of time at all.
No, I couldn't think of a better use of time actually. All right, and then weird talents. I call them weird talents, but it's really like party tricks. Like, what's something that like you're just like really good at, but it really doesn't have much impact. It could be anything, like around the house, like whatever.
Um, I'm not good at anything. I don't know. Things I'm really good at. I can solve a Rubik's cube really quickly. Yeah,
That's a
maybe
good
that's
one.
my
Yeah,
party trick.
perfect. All your answers go back to not wasting time, which is
It's like
amazing.
I'm
So on
trying
brand.
to be faster at the Rubik's cube. That's my thing.
Perfect. Have you ever timed yourself?
Yeah, but I'm not going to say it on this podcast because it'll just be embarrassing. Because there's going to
Okay.
be like some actual pro cubers out there that are going to just laugh at
Uh,
me.
you never know. All right. Oh, Ahmed takes 10 minutes per Rubik's Cube. So there you
Yeah,
go. Heard it here
exactly.
first.
Hey, that's pretty fast.
Faster than me. All right. Let's wrap up with some rapid fire Q&A. You ready for it?
Yeah, hit me.
All right. Let's get wild. You went to University of Alberta.
Correct.
Am I saying it right? Alberta. I feel like
Yeah.
anything Canadian, I just butcher for no reason. No,
No, that's it. You nailed it.
perfect. So I turned myself in for nothing. Anyway, um, just from like conversations with like friends, family, anybody who went to a university in the U.S. What's something that you think is like the biggest difference between a Canadian university and a U.S. university?
I think the U.S. universities know how to have a lot more fun. I think that's just like core in the U.S. The identity of a U.S. university. We are pretty studious and just getting hitting the books. And then I came here and I'm like, are you kidding me? I could have been doing this instead. Like um, they're pretty similar, but yeah, it seems a little bit more fun down here.
And do you call it uni, or is that just Europe and the UK?
I think it's we don't call it college. Call it
Mm,
uni. I think it's more often uni than not.
yeah, college can be more specific to
Yeah.
a subject matter. On that note, actually, I know one of the things you studied was chemistry. What's just like an element, pun intended. What I don't mean a periodic table, but what's an element of chemistry that you're like you really geek out about?
Um, Yeah, that is a good one. I think the bits that I loved were on the inorganic chemistry side, and that you see a lot of applications in technology today. And then biochemistry, just like I nerd out on uh, just in my own reading, which is like, when I'm thinking about like health and nutrition and trying to understand why a specific thing is healthy or interacts with my body the way it does. I think everything that I learned in the biochem world was helpful there. But for technology, inorganic chemistry is just like, it's super fascinating, and you see it pop up here and there to date.
And for those, this is definitely not me, but for anybody who might be currently blanking on what inorganic chemistry is, can you please uh, explain what it is?
The chemistry of all things that are not carbon based. So you think
All
about like
all things that are
the
inorganic, huh? That's
inorganic,
a real one.
exactly, yeah. When you think about like, I don't know, the creation of like a solar panel or your OLED TV, or some of these more um, technical applications of chemistry, or technology related applications of chemistry. That's where you'd see it.
Perfect. And thanks. That definitely wasn't for me. So thanks again. And then last one. I just thought the name Caper is really cool, and I'm sure this is what you had in mind. But have you ever thought about a brand partnership with like the top brand of capers? You know, those little like salty green things.
For the executive of the Caper brand out there that is listening, we want to partner with you. I have been trying to get in touch with you for years, and so please answer my emails. Please respond to my letters.
You heard it here first. The Caper Capers. Ahmed, thank you so much. This has been awesome. As if it's not obvious enough, I absolutely love your product and like everything with the company. It sounds awesome, and it's just blast meeting you and learning from you.
No,
Where
I
is?
appreciate you.
Yeah, of course, of course. So, where's the if somebody wants to try Caper Capers now? If somebody wants to learn more about Caper or just connect with you personally online, what's the best way for them to do so?
They could email me. They could slide into my whatever apps are out there.
Slide
But
into his whatever apps.
Ahmed at caper.ai, and I will respond to you. But more importantly, you can learn caper.ai has a bunch of details. There's an Instacart website out there, or you can just Google Caper Carts, and you'll find out as many details as possible. Yeah, and yeah, just would love for more people to use it and share their feedback. That's another thing that I love, is when people just directly email us and tell us how their experience was, good or bad, things they'd like to see. And again, as the whole theme of this podcast was, we will iterate obsessively and make your dreams come true.
Perfect. Well, if it helps, we'll start going every day. We'll just split our shopping into 2 items per day, and then you get
Exactly.
7 times a week users. Awesome. Last thing, final thought. Stage is yours. It could be a quote or just like words to live by or a personal model. Whatever you want. Send us home here.
I mean, what I love about this podcast, it focuses on something that for the last however long I've been doing this, it consumed my life, which is the entrepreneurial journey. And the folks that I think listen to this are entrepreneurial in nature, want to build something or want to see a future that's different than the one that they live in, and ideally a better one. So, for folks out there that are about to take the leap, it's like you what's really unique about life is that you get to build the future that you want to see. And for the folks that are doing it and it's hard and it's a struggle, there's a quote out there, and I think it's that, still water has never made the best sailor, or something along those lines. And it's extremely difficult. And I think it was extremely difficult for us for the first 5-6 years. There's still, very difficult days today, but you become just exceptionally good at handling and resolving the problems that you would not be able to handle, 5 years back. And so, um, yeah, whoever's like floating on the edge, jump in, start a startup, work at a startup, and you get to create some pretty magical things and create the future that you want to live in.
Bring on the